Why does it seem like there's a difference between some of the guys who appear like they're at the top of the food chain and those who aren't? And what I mean is by food chain is like there's some guys and they seem like they just get it socially, right? Where dating results and connecting with the women they want, building the lifestyle they want, even if it's money, friends, connections, opportunities, all of this shit just comes to them naturally. For a long time, I wondered this because in my life, for like the first fucking 19 years of my life, what came up for me was I have to try really hard for every dating experience I want to have. I have to try really hard to attract a woman into my life. I have to try really hard to make certain friends. I have to try really hard to get into certain social circles. And I would always wonder, why does it seem like some guys in my group or that I saw in my school or university or like when I was going out in New York, why is it that some of these guys just seem to have it and just get it? Why is it that it's just there for them? Whereas for me, I have to put in all this work and I have to try and I have to go to a place where I'm trying so hard where I almost lose myself and I have a lot of frustration and anxiety and it just kind of pisses me the fuck off. So if you're pissed off and you are like, why is there a difference between people who just get it versus myself? Like I'm a high performer, I'm working on myself, I'm decently attractive as a person, but it just seems like it's not effortless for me. Attracting the women I want isn't like nothing. We're going to explain that here in this video. I'm going to dive into it right now. My name is Tim. And I'm a men's lifestyle consultant, and I teach men how to attract the kind of relationships they want and yada, 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 and live on their terms. Super fun stuff. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into it. There's a gap between what we call top-tier attractors and what I call scavengers. What I want you to do is I want you to imagine a pyramid. And what we're going to go into this video is going to be a little bit tough, so don't get angry at me if you find that you're not in a place in this pyramid that you don't like. But I've been teaching dating for over 5 years now, and I've coached men. I've also coached women on relationships, mindset, on communication, on attracting people into their lives, being attractive, and leadership, all the things around that. And what I've seen is there's basically this pyramid, specifically when it comes to men and how we as men go out and attract into the world. There's a pyramid that you kind of have to go through. Some people don't start at the very bottom of this pyramid. Some people naturally just are towards the top of the pyramid because of childhood. I know I was not one of those guys. I had to put in a lot of work to get to the top of the pyramid. Yay, putting in work, that's always fun. Taking action. It wasn't actually fun when I was doing it at times. It was very depressing. But, I did it. But what I'm going to do is explain to you this pyramid and you can see where you might be on it. So we'll try to make this session as clear as possible. So at the bottom of this pyramid, you have what you call social nomads. And the result that social nomads get is a lot of rejections, a lot of awkward situations, and a lot of minimal intimacy. Sometimes I found that people that are somewhere on the spectrum of autism tend to be here oftentimes, or they're somewhere a little bit higher. If they have zero fear at all, or if they're more attractive, they could be higher sometimes, but then it just is at times like sex and getting laid with zero connection, which not everyone wants, and dare I say is not actually fun. So at the bottom of this pyramid, you have what I call the social nomads, okay? And the social nomads is like getting rejected a lot, tons of awkward situations, no intimacy at all in their lives, just nothing going on. And it really has nothing to do with how you look. It's more so how you present yourself to the world, which we're going to learn in this video. And the feeling at this bottom place of the pyramid is anxiety, confusion, and loneliness. A lot of the clients I've had have not been here. I generally have not consulted for clients that have been at this place. I've worked with clients at different places, which we'll get into next. The next level of this pyramid, which is like number 4, I guess, is social slaves. And this is another one. This is where I was when I started in the dating community, which was where I came from. And I started learning how to approach women, learning how to take action, learning how to create the kind of relationships I wanted. Social slaves. This is very interesting. So social slaves I call them slaves because they're slaves to themselves. And this is where I was at. So I'm speaking about this from a place of complete empathy. I was a social slave for a very long time, where it's the reality you have is often you're chasing. There's limited respect. So women don't really respect you, and you have lots of cancellations and flakes. So maybe at this stage, you see a lot of guys that are really funny, maybe charismatic to some extent, guys that know how to take action, dudes who are like going for it, guys who are really excited to just be out there and put themselves out there, but their dating lives, their relationships, what they're attracting in their life really isn't fucking solid. It's kind of just like, oh, if something happens, it happens, but but more often than not, something doesn't happen. And I met a lot of guys like this actually when I was really heavily involved in the dating community, and I was, teaching these live coaching programs, these boot camps. What happened is a lot of the guys that I would see who followed other companies, other coaching companies, would be out in certain clubs and nightlife venues, and they'd be just having a good time. They'd be socializing, they'd be meeting girls, they'd be approaching girls, but they would always go home alone, like every single time. Or I would see, I would say, do you have any women in your life? And I would look at their lifestyle, and they could never bring women to parties, right? The reason why is because they weren't interacting with the world from a place of, I'm empowered, I'm attractive, and I'm creating what I want. Instead, it was more like whatever falls into my lap, falls into my lap. And even then, I still get flaked on, and women don't really take me seriously. So this level is very little respect. And the feeling here is where you feel like you're gimmicky, you feel like you're putting in lots of effort, and you feel like you have a lot of frustration. Or sometimes you don't even put effort in. So keep in mind that at this pyramid, at the different levels, things can change. So it's not like you have to have every single box checked off to say you're at a certain level. Some people have little elements of level 3 or level 2, and some of level 4, depending on where you're at in your life. The next level, and this is still the bottom tier of the pyramid, is what we'd call chameleons. Chameleons is where your general result in life is just getting lucky. So a lot of the men I work with are anywhere from like chameleon to the next level, usually the guys that I've consulted with and worked with, and it's where they're getting lucky, where it's like, I interact with the world from a place of, if something falls into my lap and if something happens, then there we go. But the problem is nothing really sticks. Like maybe you've had a couple of relationships. If you're in this place, you've had a few relationships that have started off well, but then they kind of dramatically go down. It's hard for you to really find a woman that really invests in you, who's a quality woman. You have a couple average dates. You get laid here and there, maybe like a couple hookups, or maybe you get laid more than the average guy even, but it's just not really sticking, and it's not consistent in terms of how you're building relationships with women. Something happens for maybe a month or a couple weeks or a few months even, but then it just goes away. She kind of just falls out of nowhere. That's what we call the chameleons. And this is the bottom tiers of social value. But then you have the top 2 tiers, and this is where it gets interesting. You have social ninjas. And this is where I got when I was like in the peak of my how I was connecting with women, the peak of how I was sort of interacting with the world and playing with the world and bringing women into my life. And then I shifted my lifestyle more out of that, and then came back into socializing from a different place, which was more about being an icon, which I'll explain next. But you have ninjas, and this is very interesting because the results at the social ninja level is where you have consistent connections, you have a lot of intimacy in your life, and you have relationships that are just happening for you and just kind of coming into your life. And what you feel at this level is where dating is effortless. Now, there still could be some problems here where maybe the relationships you have aren't the way you want, or you're not exactly attracting women the way you want, or like the quality of the women aren't so attractive. That's usually what happens at this level, where the women you're attracting aren't the exact quality you want, but you do feel like dating is effortless. It's not a challenge for you to have a great experience meeting some awesome women. That's the feeling here at the ninja, like social ninja level. And then what you have is the social icon level, and this is top tier. This is where you have top tier social experiences. And this is kind of the life I've built for myself, where you have experiences where you're meeting women together. You maybe have an amazing wife or amazing girlfriend, and you bring her into your social life with meeting other women. You have these amazing lifestyle experiences. Your business expands because of how you connect with people. And it's where you're no longer operating on the level of need, where I have to actually get something, but instead it's where what you want just comes into your life. Almost like where you go into a bar or a club and you just hang out, and literally women will gravitate towards you, or people will gravitate towards you. This is what you call social icon status. And to be real, it takes a lot of work to get to this place. I don't believe that you can just snap your fingers and get there. Something like being a social ninja just takes a couple of tweaks depending on where you are when you start doing this kind of work. But generally, being a social icon, this took me years of mastery, of understanding every in and out of success with women and understanding how to relate to women before I could get to the point where I could confidently call myself a social icon and say every time I go out, I'm always connecting with people and I don't even think about it, and people are pursuing me more than I would be pursuing them. And again, when it comes to friendships and things like that, it's a two-way street, of course, but being at a social icon place is kind of a different reality. And something that is really cool to get to. But that ninja icon status is what I would call top tier social status. Then the question would be, how do you actually shift? Because again, like, why is it that there's a gap between the top guys who are able to socialize and create relationships in this really amazing way? And I want to be clear, I'm not talking about pickup artists, because a lot of guys watch this and maybe there's some people you're following who are really good at picking up women and taking them from clubs. I'm not talking about that. Some of those guys are amazing at meeting girls as well, and that's awesome. But if you like work a job or you're an entrepreneur, you're running a business, you don't have time to try to be a pickup artist. Like, fuck that. You're not trying to go out into the club every weekend and go like pick up chicks out of nowhere. That's not happening. It's not fun. Like, no one wants to do that, right? I mean, if you do it for a little bit and you're maybe just immersing yourself and taking action in your life for a bit, sure, but living your life over time that way is not ideal. You're not trying to become a pickup artist like was happening back in the day, like in the days of the old school shit. So that's not necessary. So what's the difference between those guys versus maybe where you're at? Or if you're already in this top status, how do you grow in it? And what's the shift to make between guys who've already got it versus guys who don't? What happens? Well, the first thing is you have to learn how to not just take action. And by the way, this changed everything in my dating life. You can't just take action. You have to take targeted, aligned action. Those are two different things. Taking action means I'm putting my head down and I'm going for shit. I'm putting my head down and I'm just taking action and I'm closing my eyes and just rushing into things. Targeted, aligned action means I'm taking action within the reality that I would like to experience. As an example, I'll give you a small example of this. It's something that has been profoundly transformational for me in my dating life. Instead of me interacting with women from a place of, I want to pick up girls in clubs, I want to like get the girl. Instead of me coming from that frame in my life, instead I oriented myself around how do I interact with women in a way where I get to know them better? Because what I want in my life is to have women in my life. I don't want to just pick up chicks and leave with them from the club. I've done that hundreds of times. It's fun. It's super fun. It's thrilling. But later you find yourself not having women really in your life. You're not building this lifestyle where you have amazing women and find an amazing partner and grow with her, travel with her, like all these things. You don't find that when you're just picking up chicks. Like, again, you could have girls come and visit you sometimes. There are definitely benefits to it. So we're not against going out and picking up chicks. Absolutely go out. I still go out and socialize. I still go out and meet girls right now. I'm always putting myself out there, but the lifestyle is a bit different. Okay, so the aligned action would be if I want to see a life where I know women and women are closely like attuned to being in my life, what do I have to do to live that action right now? When I go out and I socialize, I seek to know women. I bring women out to clubs. I introduce my wife to other women. I make sure that I'm bringing women into my life and I'm getting to know them actually. I'm introducing my guy friends to women, right? I'm making it a part of my life. It's aligned action. I always used to say this when I was doing live programs back in the day. I would always say, and this was very profound for a lot of our clients, it helped change a lot of lives actually. Like guys really crushed it with dating when they applied this. Here's what it is. Instead of interacting with women from a place of, I'm interacting with you so I can get the reference experience of doing an interaction. Think of this. How can I take more meaning from this interaction we are having as humans? And once I take that meaning, how can I convert that meaning into understanding about who you are as a woman and who I am as a man? When you approach your life from that paradigm and that mindset, everything shifts for you because you don't dehumanize the interactions you have with women. Instead, you make them real, tangible things that allow you to blossom and to grow and attract amazing into your life. The second thing is build heightened awareness. Like the top guys in the world when it comes to success with women, when it comes to business, when it comes to social skills, when it comes to attracting amazing in their lives and just living epically. The top guys have heightened social awareness. There's a couple of people that I even follow right now on YouTube, online, that we're talking about doing some collaborations with, some people that are mentoring me. And I look at these guys and their lifestyle and they have women in their lives, they're in committed relationships, but at the same time, they're also still connecting with women. They're still building their businesses. They're still in the hustle, right? They haven't let that go. And I'm like, what's the difference between those guys and maybe where I'm at even right now? I mean, I've achieved a reasonable level of success, but I still want to grow. Or what's the difference between where that guy is and the guy who's multiple degrees below myself in terms of his growth in social status or social value? What's the difference? And when I look at it, every time it's the same thing. Those individuals and myself, the level of social awareness and awareness we have when we're in social environments is crazy relative to other guys. There's a friend of mine who's been working on his dating skills and he had this amazing breakthrough. He had a realization about women in the club. He's like, when I go out and socialize, I suddenly realized that women have as much anxiety and apprehension about being there as I do. So if I'm coming at my interactions with women from a place of I have to solve some problem because she's perfect and already good to go, that doesn't even serve me, because if I'm being aware, I realize she has as much anxiety about all this as I do. So building awareness, that's an example. He became aware and thus had a breakthrough and met some amazing women just in a week, right? Like he literally took home some really awesome girls and got to know them and seeing them only in a week's time because he had this awareness of, I realize who she is and what her nature is so I can interact with it and I can love it and I can play in the world and have this amazing result. Okay, so heightened awareness changes everything. And then number 3 is replace fear with excitement. I used to call this reframing fear, but we'll just simplify it here to make it really easy for you to understand. Replace fear with excitement. A lot of times we interact with the world from a place of like, if I'm uncertain about something, I fear it and I shy away from it. I don't go for it because I think that if I were to go for it, I would in some way compromise myself and I would in some way be hurt, right? That's fear versus excitement. Whereas what flipping into excitement would say is there's something I'm uncertain about, something I don't know, like could be rejected by a woman. There's a business opportunity I want to take on that I'm really uncertain about. Maybe even a way of dressing and presenting myself to the world that I'm unsure about. Okay, there's that. But instead of me being afraid of it and realizing that fear is wrong or saying that fear is wrong, how can I be excited about the potential within this uncertainty, right? So most of the time, when we have uncertainty, our default, if you're not haven't risen through this ladder of value, like we're talking about here, oftentimes if there's uncertainty, your default is let me shy away and protect. Let me protect myself and make sure that I'm going to be okay socially, energetically, in my mindset. Let me make sure that I don't be exposed as a fraud. And that converts to fear. Whereas what I'll do when there's uncertainty, I say, let me experience it and let me watch what's going to happen and actually enjoy the not knowing and thrive from there. And when you do this a lot of times, what happens is the way that women interact with you, the way that the world interacts with you changes. And this is what guys who are, I put quotes around it because I think there's so much more to just being high value or low value, and we're going to explain that in teachings in this channel coming forward. Like, we're just getting started. So, like, there's high value and low value, sure, but I think it goes deeper than that. But a lot of times, the reason why some men come across as more high value versus low value is simply because they're not afraid. They're not operating with the world through fear. There was an instructor in the dating community who used to teach this a long time ago. He used to call it fear technology. And he would say the first thing you need to do to rewire your mindset around fear and to change who you are on an identity level is to just let go of fear in the first place. Don't like say, okay, confront the fear. Just let go of it and realize that when things are uncertain, I'm going to gravitate to it. When things are uncertain, I'm going to love it. When things are uncertain, I'm going to say, now is time for me to take action. Now is time for me to thrive. I hope this means something to you. This is how you rise up that value pyramid, increase your value as a man, and actually start to attract some amazing women in your life and really create and design the lifestyle that you want. This is what I do when I consult with my high-performing clients and help them go to the next level in their dating life and how they interact with the world and play with the world and make it theirs. And this is what I've also done in my own dating life. I'm going to share more about my journey in the next couple of trainings we're going to have here on this channel. But otherwise, I'm going to leave you there. If this video was helpful, press the subscribe button because, hey, that would fucking help me and it would be amazing for you so you can know when I'm posting more videos. All right, be blessed today and I will see you on the next training in a couple of days or whenever you watch this. Maybe there's another one up already. Be blessed today.